is not always my best subject.
Not at all.
As you can guess, Mr. Bennett.
I don't need to guess, I've got evidence.
I'm more interested in dietary fibre, you see.
So you are. Well, it's all a lot of crap to me, love.
Oh, well, it's crap when it comes out, isn't it, Mr. Beswick?
Quite. Anyway, give my regards to Charles.
I will. Thank you awfully, darling. Goodbye.
The world's not full of them, but there's an awful lot about. Hello, Mike.
Alan?
Yeah.
I've got this small problem. I wonder if you can help me with it.
I've no idea. We'll need to know what it is.
Well, you see, it's about my, you know. Well,
no, I don't, but I can guess. And there's nothing you can do. I've got the same problem.
No,
but do remember, it's not the size of the wand, but the magic it works. It's very nearly melodic moment time. 25 to 1.
It's the place to come, where shopping can be fun.
Traders at the New Market and the M2 Market have a little something to clear up.
You see, people don't seem to know exactly where they are.
Pretty serious, eh?
With so many other markets on Waterloo Road, it's easy to be led astray.
But put it this way, if it's not over the road from the M2 Market, it's not the New Market.
And vice versa.
One faces the other. Got it? Good.
And if it's not packed with bundles of bargains, it definitely isn't either.
The New Market and the M2 Market, opposite each other on Waterloo Road, Blackpool.
It's the place to come, where shopping can be fun. The New Market, Waterloo Road. Red Rose Radio.
Thank you to all the people that rang in to tell us. King George died in February 1952, and the Queen was crowned later that year. That may well still be wrong, but that's the information I've been given, and I am not one to argue with those that appear to know better. If you wish to join us on the phone in, you're more than welcome. We're here till 2, which is about an hour and 16 minutes away, and the number is Preston 561,000. How do, Walter?
How do, Alan? I'd like to talk about buses.
Go on.
Well, I was standing in this bus queue in Prestwich the other day, and I was behind these two blokes. One of them had got a skull cap on, and they both got these big black coats on, and the other had got a sort of wide-brimmed hat and these sort of tasselled sideburns. I was just standing there in the queue behind them, and this black bloke walks up, and he goes to them, he's sort of dead civil, and he goes, "Excuse me, what time's the next bus due?" And the bloke in front goes to him, he goes,
racist jokes are not permissible, Walter. How do, David?
Good morning, Alan. I'd just like some advice off you, if I could, please. I got made redundant last October off my job, and I took a part-time job then, just to keep me going through the winter, till I can get full-time employment again come the summer, because it's seasonal work. And I've been to the employment people, and they've told me that because I've got part-time work, perhaps a few hours a week, I won't get my insurance stamp put on. And they virtually told me that I'm a fool for working, and I should get myself onto the door. What sort of encouragement do you reckon this is to anybody?
Well, it's not a lot of encouragement. I commend the people that told you that at the Unemployment Benefit Office, because it isn't often that they tell you what is best for you. But on this occasion they seem to have done so. Well done, that Unemployment Benefit Office. I wish more were like them. However, to deal with the problem, if you are in gainful employment, they cannot put the stamp on for you. You will require to put it on yourself. However, how many hours a week are you working?
About 5 to 10 hours a week.
5 to 10?
At the moment.
Spread all over the 5 days?
Yeah.
That's the problem, because of course you cannot sign that you are available for work on any day, because you're busy working elsewhere.
Well, see, the thing is, it's part-time coach driving. And
yes. You're doing the school shifts, are you?
Well, things like that, if they crop up. I mean, I can go
when you say if you
have nothing.
Right, well, what you need to do is one of the weeks when you've got nothing, register as unemployed. And then, on the days that you get work, go along and tell them and say, I don't need the dole for that day because I've had some work and I've earned that amount of money. And that's perfectly possible.
And they can't refuse me stamp then?
No, because they'll be putting it on because you're registered as unemployed. But you'll need to get a couple of weeks without work.
Right. Thanks
All
very
right?
much then,
So
Alan.
go along, register as unemployed, and then tell them afterwards when you've done some work. But do tell them.
Yeah. Well, this is it. You know, I mean, I've declared my earnings and everything
Yes,
for
indeed.
tax and stamp purposes.
Okay, well, that's
Yeah.
the answer.
Thanks very much, Alan.
Cheers, Dara.
Good morning.
I'll do Colin.
Hello, Alan.
Hello.
Yeah, I'd just like to know if any future plans for an argue with Allan betting anywhere near St Helens.
None whatsoever.
No, well, where was the closest you would be to St Helens?
Well, I don't know. The only one I've got planned this year, I intend to do about 4 a year. Or I plan to do about 4 a year. I'm doing one in Blackburn in February, and I've not a clue where the next one would be. It would be sometime in May, I envisage, and that would be... I don't know, it may well still be in Blackburn. The reason it won't be in St Helens is because it's outside of our area.
Yeah.
Now, I've thought of doing one in the sort of Skelmersdale, Ormskirk area, but it's finding a suitable venue. There aren't that many venues where it's suitable.
Yeah, I'll take it a bit closer, like, I don't know how to get to Blackburn.
Nay, it's a long way to go. I shouldn't bother, it's not worth that anyway.
Yeah, that's it, I'll, yeah, I was thinking, like, it's a bit closer, like Wigan or Outskirt, you know.
Wigan's a possibility.
Yeah, well, I know my way to Wigan, so I'm okay.
Well, Blackburn's not that much further than Wigan.
Yeah.
But Wigan's a possibility at some time this year, perhaps.
Yeah, you know, when you're like, you have to argue with Alan bet, like, well, I'm just some crack you don't like, so, like, how do you cut them off? Because you're not on the phone.
Ah, people have got to come and see for that.
Or they've got to come and see, like, you're in a booth or something, or what?
No, I'm not in a booth at all. I stand mid-stage with one microphone, and the audience has 2 microphones going round, 2 radio mics, and anyone can talk in the radio mics.
Oh, so if you don't like them, like, just tell us to move on.
Well, we move on, yes, but
Yeah.
it's not a case of don't like them when the conversation is over. We all know when a conversation is finished.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Oh, okay, thanks.
All right.
Okay.
Cheers.
Let us know on the road if you're any close to Wigan or anything.
I will indeed.
Okay, thanks very much.
Ta-ra.
Ta-ra.
I'll do Stephen.
Hello, Alan. I'd just like to ask the population and any MPs that happen to be listening a question. All my friends and myself agree that Ronald Reagan is an old warmongering idiot and that Gorbachev of Russia is quite a nice man. He once offered Reagan a total freeze on medium and long-range nuclear weapons, but Reagan declined the offer. And correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, Russia has never been at war with Britain, except during the Russian Revolution. Then it's arguable whether Britain fought with or against Russia, but America has. Why, therefore, does the British government insist on being close allies with America, allowing them to have built in this country dangerous nuclear bases, and why does it insist on alienating Russia?
Fairly straightforward answer to that. Russia are, in terms of East-West relations, now a potential enemy power. America currently are envisaged by the government as an ally. Fairly straightforward answer.
But both have roughly the same amount of nuclear weapons.
That
Both
isn't
have
really what's important, is it? It isn't
both
the
have the
armament.
capability of totally destroying Britain.
The ability to destroy you neither makes you a person's enemy or friend. That is immaterial. The enemy or friendship is based on the policies of those nations or in the beliefs of friends in straightforward one-to-one human terms. The American way of life is more akin to our own than is the Russian way of life.
Yes, but the Americans seem to think that the Russians aren't very nice because they deprive the Russian people of luxury items, money, basically.
And the ability to walk the streets when they feel like. And the ability to practice what religion they feel like. And the ability to come and go in that country and out of that country when they please. They do not commit people in this country or America very often. It has been known to happen once or twice, but not very often do they commit people in this country who disagree with the government to mental homes, saying because you disagree with the government you must be mentally disturbed. Those are the kind of things that America are against, and that we are against, and we therefore have similar lifestyles.
From my experience, the Russian people don't really want those things.
They don't really want what?
they haven't expressed a wish to particularly want to have lots of money.
Stephen, you use the term from your experience. I'd be interested to hear what that experience is.
Well, it's from what I have seen on the television, what I have heard on the radio, and what I have read.
But for that you need a reasonably free press, which does not exist in Russia. The press is state-controlled.
British press has been to Russia and interviewed Russians.
Indeed, it has been to Russia, and it has interviewed Russians. And whenever those interviews are done clandestine, the results are critical of Russia. Whenever they're done via the Russian Foreign and Home Ministries, then the people of Russia eulogize about their country. So there is a problem.
But
there are very few of the kind of freedoms that you and I take for granted in existence within the state of Russia.
But if the Russians do not want those freedoms, then
we have no way of knowing. We have no way of knowing whether they want those freedoms or not, other than the reality of people dying in their attempts to get out.
British journalists have been to Russia and interviewed the Russians and brought back unadulterated video cassettes of the Russians actually saying that they do not particularly want these freedoms.
You're telling me that there are no people in Russia that want to leave?
They have not. Well, there are some that want to leave, but not
indeed there are. Well, thousands is the number. What we have to consider, Stephen... Less than 1%. What we have... Yes, less than 1%. But in this country, if somebody has the financial wherewithal to leave the country, they have the right to do it. Now, because people have no desire to leave, it doesn't mean to say that it is acceptable to remove the right.
It doesn't really make any difference, though, does it?
It doesn't make a difference to the majority of the population, no. But it does make a difference to the country and the way the country is dealt with by its leaders.
But if it doesn't...
Let me ask you a question, Stephen. Where did you go for your holidays last year?
Well, I didn't go anywhere.
You didn't go anywhere. That's an acceptable answer. Now, you didn't go anywhere. Does that bother you?
No.
Did you,
I
at the time...
stop in my bedroom.
You like to stop in your bedroom? Mm-hmm. Now, if we passed a law that said everybody had to stop in their bedroom, wouldn't bother you at all. Would that law be just?
Well, not to the people who do want to leave their bedroom.
Quite. And so what we need is justice for all, not a few. You stay in your bedroom, Stephen, you're a cretin. How do Dale? He's gone. Perhaps he's gone looking for Chippen. Remember Chippendale?
Take your scrap to CSM, Preston's top scrap metal men. They pay a better price, so this is our advice. Go to CSM.
Turn your scrap metal into cash. Best prices 6 days a week at Carlton Street Metals off Fylde Road, Preston. 1729949.
Go to CSM. CSM.
Now that you've spent pounds on everyone else, why not treat yourself to a new TV, hi-fi or video from Goodrights at Preston and Southport? We've been saving our best offers of the season for our unrepeatable sale, starting December the 27th for a limited period only. So whether it's good sounds you're after or a microwave, it must be Goodrights for a good deal at the right price. 1 Friargate, Preston and Lord Street close to Debenhams, Southport.
I'll do to... I've forgotten. Joanne.
Hello, Alan.
Hello?
If somebody comes into our garden and our dog bites them, can they say that she must be put down?
They can say that the dog must be put down, but they cannot make you put the dog down. However, they can complain to the courts, and the courts could make you have your dog put down.
If it's somebody like a bin man or a postman and she attacks them, can they say that she must be put down?
They can't, but they can go to the courts, and the courts can order it.
Are they likely to go to the courts if she has done?
I've no idea what an individual is like to do. They have the right to do it. And it's then for the court to decide what course of action they advocate. There is a general rule that says a dog is allowed 1 bite, so you'll then be required to keep your dog under control, more than likely.
Okay, thanks.
Okay?
Okay, thanks, Alan.
Cheers. Ta-ra. How do, John?
How do? Well, I must admit it beats Swap Shop. I could never get through to there. I live in rented accommodation, and before I moved...
Will you turn your radio off, please?
Sorry. Can you
Don't be sorry, turn it off.
Sorry.
You're sorry again. I still want it turned off.
All right.
Right, now we've made progress.
Now,
you live in rented accommodation.
That's it. And before I moved in, this landlord made me sign an agreement that this, that and the other was in the house. And since then, we've had a burst pipe in kitchen. And I used what was in to mop up the damage. Now, this has been removed and not replaced. Now, how am I fixed if I move out because it's on the inventory?
Presumably, when the pipe burst, you made a claim off the insurance company.
No, because it's not my house.
But have you not got the contents of it insured?
No, the landlady has the contents insured. And I told her to find a plumber to fix it, which is, it has been fixed, but the property that was in isn't anymore.
Pardon?
Well, the things that were used to mop up the damage...
Oh, I see. There are things missing off the inventory.
Yeah.
Well, they only had water on them. Why were they destroyed?
Well, they weren't destroyed. She just took them away, and she hadn't replaced them.
The landlady took them away?
Yeah.
Then she's removed them, so they need to be removed from the inventory.
So do I have to get a solicitor involved?
Well, that rather depends on whether there's a dispute.
Well, she just said, I'll bring them back, but she never has.
Well, fine. So when the time comes for you to leave, and the landlady says, where's that, that and that, you say, well, you remember you took them away. So you've got them.
And will I get away with that?
You're not getting away with anything, are you? She's taken them away, so you've not got them anymore.
Yeah, but...
So they shouldn't be on the inventory anymore.
Yeah, but there's in writing that I signed the deeds, or let...
Indeed, but you signed the deeds that that commodity, that item, was there at the time of signing, and that it would be there at the time of leaving. But unfortunately, I don't know when he's coming to bed, love. No idea. Perhaps you'd like to tell me. However, all I can say is that the inventory must now be altered, or else the stuff put back. Simple enough.
Right.
Now go to bed, before you get in more trouble.
Thanks a lot.
I'll do Christopher.
Good morning, Alan.
Hello.
I've listened to your programme on and off.
Good. Now what do you want?
I'd just like to say I've never heard such a load of unmitigated toshing all my life.
Then why don't you turn it off, you dozy little cretin? Can't you work a radio, dumbbell? Hello, Chris. Are you going to speak? Or are you a pleb? You're obviously a pleb. Never mind. We'll talk to Kevin. Hello, Kevin.
Kevin. Hello? Is it Alan?
Hello. Who are you expecting, Kevin?
Allan Beswick, sir.
Don't call me sir. I work for a living. What do you want?
Sorry, how are you doing? Have you had a good New Year? Now then.
Yes, thank you. You've run out of time with all your drivelling and what you have run out of time. I make the decision on whether you've run out of time or not. My decision is that you have. So push off, imbecile. It's news time.
Red Rose Radio.
The 1 o'clock news. This is Tara Jeffries. President Reagan is slamming down new economic sanctions on Libya. He says it's to put an end to Colonel Gaddafi's terrorism. Mr. Reagan brands Gaddafi as a pariah in the world and says he'll take further steps if necessary to stop his terrorist activities. American companies have been ordered to stop trading with Libya at the end of the month. The Europeans have again grabbed the initiative in the battle over Westland helicopters. To back up their new rescue offer, they're now preparing to launch a nationwide campaign aimed directly at the shareholders. The European consortium has abandoned all attempts to win over the Westland board, which supports the American offer. The Euro team spokesman David Horn of Lloyds Merchant Bank says in the end it will be the shareholders who will decide.
We shall have to circulate the shareholders, probably send them a proxy card, and try and let them know in the very short time we have available what the advantages of our particular proposals are. We may well also take some press advertising but we'll just have to see whether that happens or not.
Mrs Thatcher is being accused of the deepest hypocrisy over new government controls on freedom of speech. The guidelines, issued as part of the local government bill now before Parliament, curb political statements by local councillors and their advisers. But Labour's environment spokesman Jack Straw says the Prime Minister is making no attempt to tell her own staff to play by the same rules.
It's notorious that every day Mr Bernard Ingham, the Prime Minister's press secretary, at lobby briefings, makes statements which are contentious, controversial, not only attack other political parties and groups, but also, given the Westland business, are attacking other ministers in the government's own administration. There is the deepest hypocrisy behind these proposals. The government is seeking to gag local councillors in a way that it's not seeking to control itself.
The industrial peacemakers from ACAS today meet local authority leaders from England and Wales in their search for an end to the teachers' pay dispute. But as Neil Mainland reports, a breakthrough is unlikely.
Teaching union leaders met ACAS yesterday, but even then 2 separate meetings were held because the unions couldn't agree amongst themselves. What's more, any settlement is dependent on extra government money, which ACAS can't demand. The NUT's Fred Jarvis says we shouldn't build up our hopes.
For God's sake, don't build up ACAS as being the be-all and end-all of the dispute, because nobody thinks that it will be.
When ACAS have met management today, they'll decide if a full set of negotiations is even worthwhile.
The family of a white British woman married to a black American in Philadelphia is under armed police guard after vicious racist attacks by the Ku Klux Klan. The campaign of hate began after Carol Fox from Oxfordshire and her husband Gerald and 2 children moved into a traditionally white-only suburb. The police say since then the family has been attacked with petrol bombs, threatened with guns, and hooded white mobs chanting, "We'll burn your house down." Independent Radio News.
There must be the freedoms I was talking about in America. Aren't they a bizarre race, the Americans? We've had yet more information about King George. No, it's not a late news flash. Apparently King George died in February 1952, and Elizabeth was crowned, the coronation and all that stuff, in January 1953. That's the latest on it. Perhaps it'll change still again. Who knows? More to the point about who knows, who cares? Preston 561,000 if you want to join us on the phone in at very nearly 4 minutes past 1. You're more than welcome indeed. We're here till 2. How do Phil?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could give me a bit of advice.
We shall see.
Yeah, I've been on the dole for 12 months, right, and I got this temporary job. It was only for 2 weeks, and they taxed me the both weeks that I worked there. I was just, is that right?
What do you mean, is that right? Are they allowed to?
Well, I've been on dole 12 months, so I've not paid any thingies in, have I?
No, but your employer for those 2 weeks won't have any code number for you, and therefore must tax you on emergency code. You can claim that income tax back.
So will I get that money back then, yeah?
Eventually, yes.
Alright then, thanks a lot.
Okay.
Alright, cheers.
Cheers. I'll do, Fred.
Alright there, Alan.
Yep.
I mean, it was just one thing. I was listening to the programme about half an hour ago, or 10 minutes ago, and there was a gentleman on talking about Russia. And you seem to be putting, you know, what you knew about Russia. I know quite a bit about Russia, you know what happened.
Yeah, good.
I've been there for a while. And, I mean, I don't support the Russian system in any way. What I do find, though, is a lot of mischievous people, if you like, through the media, who, for one reason or another, put down the bad side of Russia. There's an awful lot of good things in Russia.
Of course there are. There's an awful lot of good things in every country on this world.
Yeah.
Tell us some of the good things.
Some of the good things, well, for instance, I mean, the languages, I mean, the vast majority of Russian people speak the English language. The theatres, the things of that nature, you know, culture. They seem to orientate more to cultural.
Yes, they have a high regard for culture.
Yeah.
I don't know whether culture is the right word, but they have a high regard for the arts in Russia. And indeed, people who are good at performance or at the visual arts or even the musical art are encouraged and funded and indeed earn privileged positions.
Yeah.
But that happens in this country to a lesser extent.
Yeah. See, the thing is as well, I mean, they call them dissidents. If people come to this country, I mean, we call it emigration, don't we?
But emigration isn't readily available to all in Russia.
It's not all available to everyone here as well.
It is available to everybody.
I mean, you try emigrating to Australia or Canada.
No, that isn't a problem of emigration. This country doesn't have a law that stops anybody from emigrating. Other countries have laws, as indeed we do ourselves, that stop foreign nationals immigrating, but that is not a problem, that is not a limitation from the state from which a person wants to emigrate. In Russia it is. People are not allowed to emigrate from Russia just because they want to.
Well, I mean, you can dress it up in any form you want. I mean, what I'm saying is that if people in this country choose to, because of one reason or another, because they're out of work or whatever, to go to another land, then it all depends on the circumstances.
But Fred, it does depend on the circumstances, but the decision as to those circumstances isn't made by the home country. They're made by the foreign country. In other words, the people of this nation have the right, as far as this nation is concerned, to travel anywhere on this planet. It is only the reception countries that restrict that right. Now that means the freedom is there.
Freedom is there to visit or a holiday, but not the freedom to work. I mean, you can...
No, listen carefully, Fred.
I'm listening carefully.
There is no law in Britain that forbids a Briton from working or visiting or living anywhere.
Yeah.
No law at all.
Yeah, the decision of other countries is to choose whether they...
The decision of other countries is
right,
so. However, in Russia, there is a law, and people are shot to death as a result of that law, that says you cannot leave that country without prior state approval.
Yeah, see, the thing is, I mean, the old...
Do you understand the difference?
Oh, I do understand the difference, yeah, and I disagree with what you're saying. I mean...
What do you mean? You understand the difference? You accept that there is a limitation on the freedom of a person for leaving Russia, created by the Russian state, which they are prepared to defend with armaments, and yet you can leave this country, and the government doesn't even have the right to intervene.
No, I mean, they're prepared to defend countries with armaments all over the world.
I'm not talking about defending the country, Fred. Listen carefully. You seem to have some disguised view. You hear words and convert them into what you think they should have been.
I'm listening.
Fred, in Russia, an individual is not allowed to leave that country without state approval. Correct?
Yeah.
Correct. In Britain, any British national can leave this country without asking permission of anybody. Correct?
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is the difference.
Yeah, the crux of it, what I'm getting to is the fact that, yeah, okay, that's acceptable. They test it up another way. I mean, if you want to go and work down south, they'll choose not to. If you can't find accommodation, they'll not accept you down there. I mean,
when you say they'll not accept you, who do you mean?
Well, obviously the people who I mean is the people at the top.
Well, be explicit.
Business people. I'm not talking about grocers or fish and chip shops.
What do you mean then they won't accept you?
Well, what I mean, it's like, how can I put it like that? Like,
well, let me tell you, Fred, that I know, because of the industry I work in, I know of something like 200 people who work down south that come from Lancashire.
Yeah.
So you're talking utter rot, to be honest.
No.
You are.
Oh,
absolute rot. How do Matthew?
Hello, Mr. Beswick. I'd like to talk about the problem of underage sex with regard to the pill. Now, I know that there's some government leaflets available on this subject, but none of them seem to me to come close to answering, you know, the broader moral issue. So the question, as far as I can see, is where do people in this position turn? To Mrs. Gillick's thoughts, well, I fear not.
Well, Matthew, would you like to tell us first of all what you think on the issue? You're talking about underage sex. You've mentioned that you want to talk about underage sex.
Yeah.
Then you've mentioned a government leaflet. Well, what is it about the government leaflet that you object to?
Well, in particular, I think basically it's just the fact that it doesn't adhere strictly to...
Matthew, you're talking in words and only you know what you're on about. Be specific. Tell us what you want to say.
The Bible, a book of our time.
That it?
Yeah.
Another God-thumping pillock. Go away. Hello, Christine.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
I'd just like to...
What chance has God got, eh, with Matthew on his side? Go on.
I'd just like to say that the person that was stating that Russia had always been an ally of England, I think they're wrong. I think they'll find, if you look in the books, that the First World War and the Second World War, at the beginning of both, Russia was allied to the Germans. They only changed over to be allies of England when, let's put it bluntly, the war was going our way.
Okay. Well, I accept the First World War bit. I'm not sure about the Second World War. I'm not sure when they did turn round. I rather thought it was when Hitler decided to invade Russia. But never mind. Christine, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers, ta-ra. How do Peter?
Hello, Alan.
Yep.
One or two people come on during the evening and ask for advice from you. And on many occasions, I think there was one guy last night talking about assault with his parents and whatever. Now, would you be liable if you were to say, I advise you to do something, and they actually did it?
The answer to that is no.
And why not?
Because the advice given on this programme is an individual's advice, just as an individual, just like if Joe blogs in the street. I do not claim, and have no desire to claim, that you have a right to rely on what I say. And that is the issue that would be, if necessary, would have to be argued at court. In other words, you cannot prosecute a claim of professional negligence because there is no professional contract.
Yeah, but let's say some of the individuals that come on to your programme are, not being rude to them, but of a lesser intelligence, and they were to go to court after assaulting somebody or whatever, and saying that, well, I spoke to Mr. Beswick on the phone, and Mr. Beswick suggested I should do that, would you then become liable?
No. First of all, I've never, to my knowledge, suggested a positive course of action. I always say one of the things you could do, try this. I never say this will do that. Never can.
Yeah, but
see, the problem is that the advice I give is only as good as the information I'm fed, or indeed that I draw. And that information is always suspect because we're working on memories between 10 and 2 in the morning when they're not at their best. We're working without documentation, and we're only hearing a very limited, because of the obvious restrictions of this programme, we're only hearing a very limited amount of information. So you cannot afford to rely on what I say.
Yeah, but don't you feel that you could actually affect people?
Of course I do.
Who phone up?
Of course I do. I could ruin somebody's life on this programme.
That's right. Well, one chap come on the other night. One chap come on the other night, and I felt for him because he was obviously a very nice fellow, but lacking in certain areas. And you gave him some advice, and I just felt after that he could actually go home and stick somebody up, appear in court, and say, "Well, I spoke to Mr. Beswick on the phone," because one or two people do relate to you as being a sort of
You'll have to tell me what person I have ever advocated going and, I think your word was stitching somebody up. The whole ethos of this programme is that I am totally, utterly and completely anti-violence.
Yes, that is true, Mr. Beswick. But there again, in saying that, do you play your cards so close to your chest that you don't allow an area of, shall we say, decision? You don't actually make a decision to a person who asks for advice?
Peter, you must come to terms with the fact, if you wish, that this programme is a form of entertainment. Nothing more and nothing less. Now, I actually sit here like some parasite making a living by attracting all kinds of different people who want to come on the radio programme and state their case or pour their heart out or debate their problems or ask for advice. All of those people, all I'm doing is finding some way of entertaining the rest of the audience for that time at their expense, as indeed is the case now.
Yeah, that is true. That's right. You're very honest, Alan.
I cannot be anything else.
No, that is very true. The only thing I'd like to say is I was talking to some marketing people the other day, and they said, we were talking about the Beswick programme, and they said, well, people are phoning in. How long does it last? I mean, you must be into the marketing area of your length of programme, how long it can go on with this sort of thing. How long do you think this Beswick programme can go on?
I took over from a guy called James Whale at Metro Radio. And James Whale had been at Metro Radio doing this kind of a programme for 8 years. He left and I took over for 8 months. James went to Radio Air, where he, incidentally, Red Rose Radio owns Radio Air. He went to Radio Air, where he immediately started doing virtually the same programme. And that's been going now for some 2 years. So it's been going for 10 years. Under the auspices of James Whale. I reckon I'll get a few years out of it yet.
Mr. Beswick, you're a clever man.
The difference is, Peter, that I fly very much closer to the boundary than does James.
And that's why you're probably more successful, Mr. Beswick.
Or why I'm at more risk.
Hey, God bless you. Long may you road.
Thank you very much.
See you, Mr. Beswick.
I could settle for some rain. It's chucking it down with snow outside and I'll never get home. Ta-ra!
Yeah, God bless.
West Horton Car Radio stock the superb range of Blaupunkt and Panasonic in-car entertainment systems, including the Blaupunkt Miran fitted for under £100. They also install electric windows, door locks, vehicle alarms and car phones, assuring you of the finest products fitted to perfection. Contact West Horton Car Radio at Church Street, West Horton. Phone West Horton 814-229.
Find out about buying a property in sunny Spain with London Spanish Developments, one of the country's leading Spanish property specialists. They have a superb range of apartments, pueblo houses and villas in and around Marbella. Visit our exhibition this Thursday at the Pembroke Hotel, North Promenade, Blackpool, and see our photographs and videos and discuss your requirements with the experts. Inspection flights arranged every weekend. So call in between 12 noon and 8 p.m. on Thursday at the Pembroke Hotel, North Promenade, Blackpool, or phone your local agent, Offshore Property Developments, on Southport 48272.
It's the place to come, where shopping can be fun.
Traders at the New Market and the M2 Market have a little something to clear up.
You see, people don't seem to know exactly where they are.
Pretty serious, eh?
With so many other markets on Waterloo Road, it's easy to be led astray.
But put it this way, if it's not over the road from the M2 Market, it's not the New Market.
And vice versa.
One faces the other. Got it? Good.
And if it's not packed with bundles of bargains, it definitely isn't either.
The New Market and the M2 Market, opposite each other on Waterloo Road, Blackpool.
It's the place to come, where shopping can be fun. The New Market, Waterloo Road.
Red Rose Radio.
Well, I'm sure it comes as no surprise to anybody that we have yet more information, not more, but different information on Thorold King-Queen job. The King, we're still happy that the King, well, happy is the wrong word, but we're still being told that the King died in January or February, Alice. I've blown it. Hang on. Go on. The King died, apparently our latest information is that the King died on the 6th of February 1952 and the Queen was crowned in June 1953. Unless, of course, you think different. Preston 561,000 is the number, and we're all going scatty, because either way, they've been dead and Queen for heading towards 30 years, and we really don't give a toss. How do Fred?